I do what I do. He knows what I'm about to tell him right now. It's Mr. Keep Running Your Mouth. That's what I do.
I just feel like I'm the champ, and at the end of the day, I'm just a fighting motherfucker. It doesn't matter. Inside, outside, I can just fight. So I just feel like if it gets down to the wire, and we gotta lock it up, I'm out on top.
Hey, look, as you can see how I'm looking, I stay solid. I'm always solid. I stay fucked solid up, man. You know what I'm saying? To the fans that know.
Today, job outside the ring. I'm a fighter. Like I said before, ain't no safety on the clock, so I'm ready.
I'll take them how they come and make them look ordinary.
When I was a casual, I thought as a casual, I spoke like a casual, and I looked at boxing like a casual. But when I became a hardcore, I put away all those casual things. This is Michael Rogers, and welcome to Bodywork Boxing. What's going on? It's Michael Rogers. Welcome to Bodywork Boxing. What's going on with y'all? Just wanted to talk a little boxing. You know what I love to do. Talk a little bit of boxing. And, I normally try to do a little wrap-up every week, but I didn't really do a wrap-up. I just really touched on Caleb Plant in a video. And I also asked what was next for Tank. But it's just so much going on in boxing right now. We are getting fights. There are fights. So I think right now hardcore boxing fans have just been reduced in actually appreciating when fights actually come to fruition. And we can actually see and analyze everything that's going on. But even now, fights coming to fruition and people actually getting in the ring still is not enough. You know, a couple weeks ago we had Gary Antonio get a clash of heads, and this week we had the Lara Warrington where, that fight was discontinued, so it's like, man, just got news that the Stephen Fulton fight is postponed against Figueroa because Figueroa got that Rona. And that Rona, especially with Top Rank, that Rona is running rampant. But that's not why I'm here today. I am actually here today to talk about the thin line between love and hate, and the thin line between real and fake. There's so many narratives being pushed right now. We got people climbing the charts who ain't even stepped in the ring. We got people changing their opinions on fighters. We got all kind of stuff going on. We got PED accusations. We still got this whole undisputed, disputed argument going on. We got different classifications for ducking, and man, I just wanted to get into it. I just wanted to talk about it. Because, right now, just like the thumbnail, man, it's like they put the goalposts on the moon for so many things. And let's start with the PEDs, right? I guess I got to give an example that everybody probably can relate to. But when Wilder lost that fight, right, to Fury, and amidst all the allegations, nothing substantiated, nothing proven, all this proof, all this evidence is supposed to be out there, but it still wasn't stamped. So I'm seeing and hearing people coming along in the whole result of what happened, where Wilder lost. Well, in that, everybody wanted to point to Mark Breland. It was all these accusations about Mark Breland and how he didn't manage Wilder. I don't know how. I mean, you got 42 wins straight out the gate, coming in the game late, and that was your only trainer. I don't know how you explain the 42 wins. So all that gets So none of that gets attributed. That's just a natural, just got natural power, blah blah blah. But anyways, Mark Breland was the scapegoat. But now here you have the fourth fighter that's associated with a certain trainer that actually came up hot. And what he came up hot for wasn't something that was going to turn you into the Incredible Hulk. What he came up hot for was something that's going to suppress your appetite, give you extra endurance, and allow you to train longer and have more endurance, which was a competitive edge, which was a banned substance. So then we have the ruling where A sample came back hot, B sample came back hot, and they like, step on the gas. We're moving forward with the fight. And it put the whole boxing community in an uproar. They're like, what? How is he still going to fight? Yeah, they still going on with the fight. And then so people start saying, oh, no, they start connecting the dots. And they saying, oh, Reynoso, that's the same camp as Ginger. That dude Martinez. That's the same guy that's associated with Neary. And now we got Valdez. So now Valdez and his track record and, his recent win against Burchell, which was an excellent win, comes into question. And everybody said, oh, no, that don't have anything to do with Reynoso. And how can that be associated with Ginger? Well, Ginger popped hot before for performance enhancing. And that was attributed to the meet down in Mexico.
I'll take them how they come and make them look ordinary.
So this one is being attributed to the tea. And so that's what they tried to say. And so it was this time period where they were supposed to produce which tea it was. And then the WBC, they basically said, oh, man, that's like equivalent to having like 3 Red Bulls. Which I'm thinking the president, man, should have had a V8. Like, what in the world? How you move that goalpost like that when you gonna let this man fight? And it took everything in my power as a hardcore boxing fan not to watch this face off and all this stuff, and I didn't click on it. I just trying to be disciplined and trying not to like give that any shine because we can't support that. But I just find it funny how Reynoso, he free and clear the association with anybody that was attached to Valdez, whether it's in camp, whether it's the trainer. Oh, no, they don't have anything. That's his own personal and then it's not that bad. It's not that bad. But Breland took the full, that's the whole thing. Oh, now look, Malik Scott got Wilder responding. He's responding. I'm like, well, he was responding to Breland for 42 fights. So the one loss and the one draw, the draw came and then the loss came, but like he was responding to Breland for all them fights. And so we want to attach that. We want to attach that whole thing to Breland, but we don't want to attach none of this kind of behavior to Reynoso. So if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander, right? But he don't get none of that smoke. We can't associate none of that with Reynoso. How do you know? I've never heard so many excuses, and a channel, I had pointed him out. I unsubscribed from him for a while ago because I saw that he was a race baiter. Since he's mixed, he played to the black side a little bit with some controversy, then he played to the Latino side with a little bit of controversy. But he pretty much the only one where I get to see the T.O. and T.O. Dad, because I rock with T.O. I refuse to actually acquiesce to actually somebody subscribing and following somebody just because they have a monopoly on the fighter. It's just like what happened with Wilder, how people like that was part of a certain organization were the only ones who had access to him. I don't subscribe to that. You got more fans outside of this one person that you're giving interviews to or this community who you give interviews to. So you leave the hardcore boxing fans who just like boxing, who believe that the sum of all boxers and the sum of the sport is greater than one moving part, no matter how big it is. But this guy, you know, it's more and more one of my channels I rock with. He basically came out and he didn't say the name, but I can conclude that it was the channel that I already deemed as being a race baiter. And what he'll do is he pretty much catered more towards the Latino side, but he'll when the views get a little dry, I guess when he see a little dip in the number, he'll kind of cater to something that's going to get the black people riled up. And I just don't deal with that. Like, we supposed to be talking about boxing, it's not about race. But this double standard of the PEDs has come in question. And this guy came out and said that it's all about money. Stop that. Stop this. Stop talking about race. You know, it's all about the money. It's all about the Benjamins, baby. And that's what he basically said. So if you got a cash cow, you know what I'm saying, they're going to have more leeway. He gave the example of, people like Ginger, people like Floyd, people like, I guess in this case, Valdez, which I didn't really perceive him to be no cash cow. But what does that say? So it's okay to use this performance-enhancing drug because it's equivalent to 3 Red Bulls. But I heard Sean Porter said the best on the Porter Ways podcast, and I'm really liking what Sean bringing to the table on his show. He tried to be very professional, he tried to be objective, and he tries to wear different hats, being a fighter and also, you know, observing the sport and being objective on things. But he basically said that at the beginning of the fight, both fighters start off with an endurance, and he compared it to a game. Both fighters start off with an endurance of 100, and as it goes on and throughout the rounds, you know what I'm saying, in time, just from work rate and, you know, damage taken and things like that, then your stamina, energy, all that should take a dip. So in round 7, you might be at like 80% or 75%. But if the other fighter has taken something that was a performance enhancement that allowed him to, you know, train harder and longer, I mean, that got me to thinking into muscle memory and, you know, just being able to put your body through more because you have an extra thing inside of your body. You have an extra foreign liquid inside of your body that's allowing you to actually train better. That's a competitive advantage.
I'll take them how they come and make them look ordinary.
That's a competitive advantage. And that was the perfect scenario. But this one guy on this one channel said, oh, it's all about the money. So now we're making excuses because it's all about the money. We got to make that make sense. No, it's a double standard. And right where if it wasn't about race, because it's the race that he caters to, if it wasn't about race, you would call that race out. You would say, hey, look, I don't care if you were blue, green, purple, yellow, orange. You took a performance enhancement. Sit your butt down. No, there will be no fight. And yes, there should have been a replacement found, somebody that was in shape, somebody in that weight class, somebody that was ready to go. Because I don't know what the protocol is, but I'm thinking that they got to have some people that say, hey, man, stand by. Because if anything happened, we moving forward. They didn't do that. They're going to let this man fight. They're going to let this man fight. After the 19-year-old Hispanic female just got hurt. She sustained some head injuries, some injuries in the bout, and then she went on to not make it in the sport. So that goalpost was moved. So I'm like, man, look. In hindsight, all this really did was, in my opinion, it put more pressure on Ginger. It made Caleb Plant look even better going into the fight. You know, people want to question the background of the people that he working with, but that's another goalpost that gets moved. It's just like Michael Vick when he got caught fighting them dogs. And his folks snitched on him. He did his time. He came back and people still wasn't wanting to sign him. I mean, that thing followed him all the way to the Steelers, where they were actually boycotting, and a lot of the people, a lot of the sponsors and everything was threatening to pull out. And that man had pretty much already served his time. So I'm like, this double standard that we have. So now everybody want to talk about Conti and Snack and all this. Well, if you want to talk about Conti and Snack, then you got to talk about all the people that was a part of Snack. But then you got to say that, okay, when he came back and he got, he cleaned himself up and he got back on his business and he been doing his thing, none of his fighters have actually been able to come up high. So that's how the goalposts get moved. So you got a fighter over here that comes up hot. He's associated with 3 other fighters who's tied in with this same trainer and somebody else that's under suspicion because of drastic weight loss in the heavyweight division. And the goalposts get moved to looking at somebody's past, where after they served their time and did, paid their punishment, paid retribution, whatever the penalty was. And now none of those fighters actually come up hot, but then the focus gets put on them. I've even seen in chats to where it's talking about many of the fighters of the past who actually came up hot, and and this is how you know it's about race, because this was a Hispanic guy that actually came up hot in Valdez, and Ginger, and Neri, and the dude Martinez. But in this list, they brought up all these lists of black fighters that popped hot. Shane Mosley, Roy Jones. It was all these different. I'm like, okay, so why are you moving the goalposts? Why are you moving the goalposts now? That's what's wrong with boxing. It's a thin line between love and hate. It's a thin line between real and fake. I don't want to cook on it because this subject is like way overcooked, but look, if it's good for the goose, then it's good for the gander. Punishment should be doled out. Yes, they all should be heard on a case-by-case basis, but they should all pretty much be, the level of punishment should be rendered equal, given a circumstance. It don't look right. It's a black eye on the sport, especially after the young lady just lost her life in the ring. So, I want to touch on Undisputed at the 135 as I move right along. And I saw something yesterday. I was watching the Boxing Voice, and the subject was about Devin once again, and who he's going to be fighting next, and this banter, these echo sentiments that nobody wants to fight him is still reigning supreme. I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of people be complaining about the WBC, but the WBC actually created a monster by sending him that belt. Because a lot of people are not going to like this, love it or hate it, but that belt is the only thing that's keeping him relevant right now.
I'll take them how they come and make them look ordinary.
That belt is the only thing that's keeping Devin relevant right now. And now that T.O. got a fight actually coming up, he got a fight coming up. We get more people putting pressure on him to give Loma a rematch, who Loma would have never given T.O. a rematch. Need an example? Ask Mr. Gary Russell Jr. Ask Mr. Gary Russell Jr. Did Loma ever, hey, if I was T.O., hey, give Gary Russell Jr. a rematch. Before that, it's almost like T.O. Running plays, you know what I'm saying, or somebody in the camp might be checking out my videos, because I said, nope, I wouldn't give Loma a rematch. I would make him go run the gauntlet. I would say, hey, go fight Nakatani, go fight Comey. And that's pretty much I mean, I'm thinking it's slated for Loma and Comey to get it on. But the thing is, that belt is the only thing that he can hold on to say, and oh no, I'm a legitimate champion, all this. But nobody respect that belt. They don't. The proof is in the pudding. Who's beating down the door to try to get that belt? And it's not because of the belt holder. Masterclass box. Who is like, when you get boxed, like, come on, man. Hit and not get hit. So they hit you more times than you got hit. No, people don't want to be on a highlight reel. People don't want to be on a highlight reel. Getting out boxed is nothing to somebody that boxes. You probably take more punishment in sparring than you do. It's just publicly. But when I went back at it, I said, you know what? Now people are starting to chip away. I heard a channel I rock with. He said, T.O., you need to do what you said you was going to do and fight, and step it up. And I'm like, well, hold on. The dude fought Nakatani. The dude fought Comey. The dude fought Loma. Now he fighting Kambosos, who actually beat Mickey Bay, who was well known in the sports, putting on events and all that, had a good career, you know what I'm saying, doing more training, doing more promotion, putting on events with his brother now. When we put more pressure on him to go back and fight Loma, and he got his eyes set on Josh Taylor, but then we knocked Tank for not setting his eyes on Josh Taylor. Make that make sense. Can we put the goalpost right in the middle? And why do I say that? It's because I had to go back and I started looking back into Devin's resume. The dude Santiago, after Devin, he went on to fight Ricardo Nunez, a guy who got TKO'd by Tank. So Ricardo Nunez get TKO'd by Tank. Ricardo Nunez went on to TKO Santiago, who Devin beat in a unanimous decision. So then we look at Linares. And yeah, he might have dropped Loma, but Loma finished him. And when we look at Linares, before that, what was it? Pablo Cesar Cano. He dispatched Linares in 55 seconds. Knocked him down 3 times in the first round and finished him in 55 seconds. So masterclass and all this, and we seen Gamboa. So come on, man. I mean, you can love it or hate it, man. Let's stop moving these goalposts. The pressure need to be on the person who got an extra belt. You want to say franchise, but you say in order to beat the man, you got to beat the man. T.O. beat the man at Loma at the time. And so one minute you want to believe Suleiman, the next minute you don't want to believe Suleiman. But Suleiman said that there was knowledge that if they went into that tournament, Devin and them, they went into that tournament, they was not going to get Loma. So I fast forward to yesterday on the Boxing Voice, and I hear Bill talking about Lee Selby. You go back and watch the video. You should have heard how loud and excited he sounded. I'm like, who the... Lee Selby? Kambosos leftovers? If you gonna fight some leftovers, go fight a Nakatani. Go fight a Comey. Lee Selby, I thought it was gonna be this dude from Sudan with Lou DiBella in them. I thought it was supposed to be some dude from over there, one of them countries in Africa, but yay. But like I said, all this banter with Gary Russell, we get a Yuriorkis Gamboa, who just got knocked out by Tank. All this jaw-jacking with T.O. and Loma, and then we get a Linares. Then a call out for Tank right after the fight. And now we about to get a Lee Selby. Or a Maxie Hughes. And Maxie Hughes just fought Stratford on DAZN, and I watched it, but like he's not a world beater. So when are we gonna hold people to this standard? Moving right along. Top Rank, man. Top Rank. What? I gotta ask, like, how do we classify the Ducks? Because it is a popular opinion that Tank is actually ducking Mr. Gary Russell Jr. It is what it is. Mr. Gary Russell Jr. been calling the man name out, over and over again. Like I said, I just want to see that fight because I couldn't pick one, but I just want to see the fight. But let's say, okay, so Tank is on his way to the money. You know what I'm saying? He's getting managed by Mayweather. Whenever he bucked Mayweather, they were saying, oh, man, you stupid. You got all this wisdom and knowledge. You got one of the best fighters to ever do it, managing you, and you're going to go against what he's saying. So when he go with what he's saying, so he's in the catch-22. I say he'll get in the ring with anybody, right? Okay, so that's a duck. But then when we get on the Bud, and I had to actually unsubscribe from another channel I rock with, he mainly stuck with the X's and O's, but he always occasionally put out some old sensationalism, and whenever I comment on it, and especially when it come down to Bud, you can't just give Bud praise. I mean, you got to put on some knee pads. I'm not putting on no knee pads for none of these boxers. I'm not. I'm not going to the CVS for no KY. I'm not getting no chapstick. I'm not getting no goddamn knee pads for none of them.
I'll take them how they come and make them look ordinary.
That's just not how I get down. And I am excited because I just got news that it's going to be on. Like, they saying that the fight go on. But when I start looking at it, when you start talking about level of competition, just like I was just talking about with Dev. When you talk about level of competition, when you talk about Santiago, you talking about Jorge Linares, Gamboa. Like, when you talk about that level of competition, it's different. The styles make fights, and just because he didn't knock him out, he didn't knock him down. You can even say he didn't even stun Linares as bad as Linares stung him. But because you're a favorite, you're a fan favorite, you get a scapegoat. No, everybody need to get on the scale. If Tank on the scale, if Bud on the scale, I think the only person you really can't put on the scale is Spence. But whenever you talk about the level of competition in Bud and somebody came out, a popular channel, come out and make 1,000 videos a day, he came out and said that Porter was going to be Bud's, going into the fight is going to be Bud's stiffest competition. This dude was arguing me down. He moved the goalpost like 4 times, and I said, hold on, how come every time we talk about strength and competition, it's just like when I say the Eagles, when we won, my team, when we won the Super Bowl, right? We had one of the weakest schedules, strength of schedules. Yeah, it took some magic, and yeah, like when you get to the playoffs, all that go out the window. But getting to the dance in the regular season, we had one of the weakest schedules. We tiptoed in the playoff, and Foles got hot, and he led the way. And he did probably like a once or twice in a lifetime performance up against Tom Brady and them boys. But as a diehard fan, I could not deny that we had one of the weakest schedules. So how come we can talk about the strength of schedule? Oh man, just like everybody, like this is like pretty much perennially in basketball. Every year, whoever's on the East, whoever pretty much comes out of the East, know that it's gonna be hard when they get to the playoffs because the teams in the West lately, they just been dominating the game. So if you come out of the East, you got a good shot, especially if you're good. If you come out of the East, you got a good shot. You got to come out of the East. It's dog eat dog. But strength of schedule is always taken into consideration. But when it comes to boxing, it's mano a mano. You never want to look at resumes. You never want to look at this and then all this. Oh, well, you can't use triangle. But then you use it when it benefits you. Stop moving the goalposts. Can we plant the goalpost right in the middle? Whether it's windy, raining, or whatever, the goalposts need to stay planted. Unless it's the end of the game and, you know, like how they do in college when the game's over and they won, they run with the goalposts down the middle of the field, man. That's what's actually going on right now. Like, let's stop moving the goalposts, man. And all this bickering people online about, you know what I'm saying, is it about race? Is it about this? No, it's not about strength of schedule. No, it's not. No, you can't really say that because going in. And what really kind of opened up some things, they was playing the game on the Boxing Voice, and they was actually saying, okay, coming into each fight, what do you rank the level of competition going into this fight? So they asked, what would you rank Gamboa going into, at that point in time, going into the Bud fight? What would you rank Delorme? What would you rank Joe Horn? So if you do that with all your favorite fighters, where would you rank these people going into these fights? And then the people that do the heavy lifting like T.O., he gets shitted on because you want more. Well, what about what he did? I would say these 4 fighters in a row are better than the fighters that he did in Devin fought. And with the Bud thing, I mean, I'm not really trying to trigger nobody, but I mean, Sean Porter would be the stiffest competition.
I'll take them how they come and make them look ordinary.
How do I know? Because I underestimated Sean Porter going into the Spence, and he showed up and showed out. And Spence had to do what he had to do with the knockdown, but that's what separated. But when you ain't knocking nobody down and you just doing all this yip-yapping and you the best in the world, stop it. Just like Ginger. Look at his strength, look at the strength of competition. Billy Joe Saunders, Yildirim, his old sparring partner, Smith. Could you pick them out in the lineup? If we did the usual suspects lineup, could you pick them guys out right now? So we like to put these crowns, and we like to actually we actually like to move these goalposts and put these crowns that can and just get into all these semantics. Well, I didn't say this, and that was at the time. It's like, no, man. Let's act like hardcore boxing fans, man. If somebody's ducking, somebody's ducking. If somebody came out and said, hey, man, Tank is ducking Mr. Gary Russell Jr., I'd probably be like, well, in some ways, you're probably right. Do I think Tank will fight him? Absolutely. Do I think that Ellerbe and Mayweather have something to do with it? Absolutely. But then when I look at Gary, it's like, do I think Gary want to fight more than once a year? Absolutely. When I look at who is in his, I guess, whatever kind of contractual obligation with, or the ties that he actually have with, are they actually holding him back for whatever reason? More than likely, yes, they are. So that fight might not be happening for reasons way beyond, but for me to do all these videos about how and why they not fighting and all this, no, I would love to see the fight. I think that the fight will make a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? I think the fight will make a lot of money, especially if they do it down in Atlanta. They probably can't do it up here. They probably can't do it in Baltimore. They probably can't do it at the MGM Grand in DC. They probably can't. They could. But the way those two cities, you know what I'm saying, rock or don't rock with each other, it might be a fiasco. But people might make that drive down to Atlanta. So for me to keep doing videos, and I sidebar, man. I hope my man Earl, the Truth Spence, aka the Street Sweeper, I hope you have a good recovery, and I hope you come back intact, man, because I don't know how in the world people are dropping Spence stock. I've heard so much outrageous stuff since this eye injury. Bud started talking again. It's like, just like when the accident happened, it was like, oh yeah, he was all vocal when the accident happened, and people saying Spence wasn't going to walk again. Bud was doing all this talking. Then he came out and said, you bet not, he told him pull his panties up. Then he said, you bet not fight me when you come back, you need to take a tune-up. So don't fight me next. Then he get all the way healthy. Like, oh, I don't need him. I don't. Now he get the eye injury once again, and he's all vocal, talking smack about missing out on the Pacquiao fight. When the last time I checked, rumor has it that Bud didn't sign the paperwork for the Pacquiao fight. So how you gonna poke fun at Spence, who did sign and get caught with a bad eye in a physical, trying to go forward with a fight? And now I'm actually seeing that on a channel that, like, one of the first channels I started rocking with when I actually started looking at boxing from the YouTube lens, not just loving boxing outside, but in the YouTube. One of my favorite channels, one I used to watch every day. This guy was all on Spence. Nothing happened, and all of a sudden he just ranked Bud over time. I'm like, what happened? Who did he fight? Earl just got an injury. He said he'll be right back. Goalpost been moved again. This is before the fight was actually confirmed as actually between Bud and Sean. But it's like, no, man, you gotta call out sucker type behavior, man. We call that sucker type. Or back in the day, that's what we used to call it. Or we used to say that's some bam ass shit. That's some bam ass shit to wait till a man get injured to start doing all this yapping. That's almost like Debo. When Debo coming around. Yeah, when he come around, I be quiet. And when he leave, I be talking again.
I'll take them how they come and make them look ordinary.
Come on, y'all. We gotta stop moving these. I mean, come on. We just gotta stop moving these goalposts. A duck is a duck is a duck. We know when you spreading propaganda. We know when you race baiting. And we know when there's a double standard in boxing. We know. It's plain as day. You can't keep moving the goalposts. You move the goalposts too much, ain't nobody gonna score. And who gonna lose? The fans. So I just wanted to do a little, you know what I'm saying? I want to do a little video, man, to touch on the PEDs. We need a standard. We need, like, okay, if it's all going to be on your coaches and your trainers and your corners and all that, if it's all going to be on that, then let's put it on that. You can't pick and choose when somebody is guilty by association. That's not how that works. And yeah, we know that everybody is fighting for money and you know, to feed their families and everything, but some of this stuff is not money driven. Some of it is racially driven. Some of it is a lot of favoritism. And I don't really like to talk about it, but in some cases, yes, if you have a certain kind of complexion, if you have a certain type of heritage, you are afforded more benefits. It's just like you're more than likely to get a fight because of your fan base. That just is what it is. But if we're going to set some standards, man, and we're going to be responsible boxing fans, especially hardcore, we got to be like, we got to keep it 10 times 10. We got to keep it 10 times 10. Before I get out of here, the double standard is Caleb Plant. He implemented Andre Ward, who was one of the best in the game, to actually give him some tips. Right? To actually consult with him. You know, I haven't been seeing much about what's coming out or what they're saying, which is a good chess move. It should be held close to the vest, as they say. But I heard, oh, he's employing Ward because he's scared. Ooh. Scared. Skill-wise, Plant, this is going to be like a curveball. This is going to be like that year when the Ravens got in the playoff and they dusted the team off one week, and the next week they had to go face the Titans, and the Titans just ran the ball all down their throats. And living up here, I had to deal with these people, man. Had to deal with Ravens fans, man, and that. You know what I'm saying? That's a curveball. You see it all the time. You mess around, get a wild card team in the first week, and it's like, oh yeah, I skated by, and then you get somebody that's been waiting, somebody that's been the real deal the whole time. But to say that, oh, he don't have no chance, he's going to get knocked out when he get his eye socket broke. It's like, okay. But remember, you bragging on the guy that once formerly came up hot on performance-enhancing drugs. It was the meat. It was the meat. Get off his schmeats. A questionable, he got a knee brace now. He got all this drama going on in camp with the PED usage. This guy's being more vocal. You got up and walked away from the table. You threatening to pull away from the table. Hey, if I was on the outside looking in, I said fighter A and fighter B, which one looked nervous to you? Which one looked scared to you? Something to think about. But to say this man Plant actually has zero chance, man, it's gonna be funny, man. I'm telling you, watch. You're watching the rise of Plant. I don't know what happened, but this is something that he's been waiting for his whole lifetime. And he can make history. You think that man gonna come in there and lay down like Billy Joe, who just won a retirement check, who also got caught cheating before with a banned substance? Now, and the goalposts are already getting moved to Benavidez. Anyways, man, I just wanted to touch on some of these double standards in boxing, man, and tell y'all it's a thin line between love and hate. Love me, hate me. Hey, I'm going to keep it all the way funky with you. And it's a thin line between real and fake. Body work.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
My word, and I do what I do. He knows what I'm about to tell him right now. It's Mr. Keep running your mouth. That's what I do.
I just feel like I'm the champ, and at the end of the day, I'm just a fighting motherfucker. It doesn't matter. Inside, the outside, I can just fight. So I just feel like if it gets down to the wire, and we gotta lock it up, I'm out on top.
Hey, look, as you can see how I'm looking, I stay solid. I'm always solid. I stay fuck solid up, man. You know what I'm saying? To the fans that know.
Do that job outside the ring. I'm a fighter. Like I said before, ain't no safety in the clock, so I'm gonna